Welcome to the earthvox podcast. The earthvox podcast. earthvox podcast.
All right, well, I guess we have a new set of issues. I didn't want to refresh the stream because I launched it already, but it would seem that my opening video placeholder isn't doing its job, and I got everything ready to go for my Rumble stream, which I've been working tirelessly towards. And by working tirelessly, I mean waiting for the equipment to show up from eBay, because I shop on eBay because Amazon is the evil empire of a corporation. So I hope everything is reaching you correctly. I keep having this banner saying something went wrong. I suppose I could check on the stream on, where should we check? How about Twitch? This was not part of the plan. We got some Twitch going. Somebody's gaming.
Oh, we did it!
What is that? Who cares?
What are we even fighting for?
Going to the earthvox channel. Yeah, it's all there. Fantastic. Good to know. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. Please take a moment to why I'm getting a phone call. This is we're really off to a great start. Hi.
Are you started?
Yeah.
I don't see a stream
I just checked the stream on Twitch and it was working.
on Twitch. I've never done it on Twitch.
Well, I
So,
looked at it on YouTube too.
Oh, I couldn't find it on YouTube.
Oh, well, that's because YouTube is an evil company that suppresses my content. Do you want to say hi to the chat?
Hi.
That's the lovely Mrs. Earthvox. Yeah, I checked on, did you actually go to my channel?
Yeah.
And it wasn't showing me under live?
No.
Well, what in the world? I just looked at it literally 2 seconds ago.
Okay, well, let me look again.
I'm going to go look again right now too. You stay here.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to view my channel. This is very controversial. See, the thing is that this might be what's confusing you. I haven't been able since Riverside changed its whatever thing. I haven't been able to rename my stream ever since in the last 2 weeks. I've renamed it everywhere that I can think to rename it, and it just doesn't change the name. So from my channel, I'm clicking on live, and I see myself live right there. It's got the live banner, and yeah, there I am. I'm live. So
I found it.
it's on your end, but thank you for the crack production efforts.
It was all the way at the bottom, so that's not where it was last time.
Yeah, not surprising. I discuss unsavory topics and expose the evil of the corporate world, so they don't want that message getting out. And now we have proof. Live on the stream. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, love you, bye.
Bye.
That's great content. Great content. And anyway, the plan is to be moving off of Riverside and onto Rumble Studio. I was waiting on my equipment to show up. I bought another giant green screen. I've been spending weeks like trying to troubleshoot all of the issues that come with trying to set up a green screen. And it's been, I think really what the problem is, I think it's a software problem and not an equipment and lighting problem, which I have a workaround for. But moving into a completely new ecosystem is daunting and kind of scary, because I have the way Riverside records everything. I know that I have access to all of this stuff. I have access to my audio stream, which I'm also independently recording. I have access to the audio from the clips that I play. And I don't know if all of that is captured on Rumble for free. The way, which is where I would like to get to free, because until the ad dollars start rolling in, I'm going to run a tight ship around here. But the main reason that this isn't all resolved is I got sick on Thursday and was just trying to rest and recuperate. And this morning I woke up and I felt terrible and I almost didn't do a show. But today's show is just too good for me to, blow off, for me to pull some sick day bullshit on you. So thank you again for joining me. Please share the show right now, if you wouldn't mind. My daughter got her first taste of the evils of corporate marketing. I guess that was a nice transition from the discussion with Mrs. Earthvox. Speaking of evil corporate infrastructure, her Pringles were not bursting with flavor like it said on the package. And she took this to mean that she wasn't feeling well. Because I feel like we've all been sick for about the last 6 weeks. We get a little bit better for about 4 days, and then the virus comes back, if you believe in viruses. And so Mrs. Earthbox went over and tried a few, and she were like, they taste like flavor, but they're not bursting with flavor. And it's a great lesson. Like they'll put whatever they want on the packaging to entice little kids to buy their stuff is really what it boils down to. But we don't do junk food like that all the time. We had a special day yesterday, and it's one of the biggest disappointments I have about being ill and not being able to kick this cold is about midday, after relaxing all morning and getting a good night's sleep on Friday night, about midday Saturday, I think I'm doing good. I'm going to take these kids to go ride their bikes because my 7-year-old still doesn't know how to ride her bike without training wheels. And I feel like that's a massive failure on my part as a father. So we go to the empty parking lot, pop off the training wheels, get her going on the bike. Everything's going great. And my 2 girls have planned that they want to do they want to watch the TV that's in my daughter's bedroom and watch a movie and have like a little slumber party between the 2 of them. It's cute, whatever. Well, I decide, since Minecraft is playing at the local theater, and it's a small theater, like one show every weekend for the most part. I'm not exactly sure how it works. But last weekend it was Snow White. This weekend it's Minecraft. Or maybe 2 weekends ago, it was Snow White. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Jack Black, and I thought we'll surprise him. And we'll go see Minecraft. So we went to the store. We got all of the candy and stuff to, unbeknownst to them, hide in my wife's purse and smuggle into the movie theater, because that's what you do if you don't want to pay $7 a box for candy. And then we show up at the theater. And they're completely like, it was actually kind of funny because when we got to the theater, we parked around the corner because that was the only place to park. And we get out and the whole time they're like, what are we doing? What is going on? We want to go home and rip into all of this junk food that we bought because it was a special occasion. That's why we bought the Pringles and the candy, etc. Because we don't do it all the time. And it's kind of a special, impactful treat, and a little bit more of like, because I was so proud of those girls for learning how to ride their bikes without training wheels. One of the reasons that it took me so long to actually push my daughter to get the training wheels off her bike is because she's a little bit fearful. And that's just little kids, right? She doesn't want to hurt herself. And I totally get it. But the goal was accomplished. And we just decided last minute we're going to do this awesome thing and we're going to go see Minecraft and we're going to have a great day. And it was mission accomplished. Except today I feel like maybe I should have been resting yesterday because I did what I always do, which is get ahead of myself and start thinking I've recovered from my cold. And then I end up regretting it. I take one sick day from work and then I immediately get back to work because that's what you're supposed to do, right? And then I spend the rest of the week just sort of mildly sick, not all the way better, but just miserable for the rest of the week until I can actually get some recuperation in. But ultimately, I feel like it was worth it. Minecraft is, I guess it's upsetting people. I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes score, and I wasn't surprised with what I saw. I think they had it at 59%. Let me show you. I need like a sit in the studio producer to watch me over my shoulder because I should not be. Why won't this go away? I'm being forced to watch. Wow, that no wonder Rotten Tomatoes has kind of gone down the tubes. I just had to watch an ad to look at a web page. That's bad practice. Another example of evil corporate. I promise that's not the case today. Can you just open the damn page? I don't want to watch the freaking preview. God. 49% from the critics, 87% for the audience. And I think I would probably fall somewhere in between that. Granted, I was expecting a little bit more maturity from the movie. It is definitely a kid's movie. It is definitely, I mean, PG might even be a little bit harsh of a rating. But I don't know the rules, so it could be fully appropriate. But I had no problem taking my 5 and my 7-year-old to see it. There was nothing weird. There was nothing woke. So you can rest easy if your child is really excited to go see the Minecraft movie. You won't see anything questionable or upsetting. It's good fun. Jack Black is great. I was not disappointed. Jason Momoa was also great. I had no idea what to expect from him, from Jason Momoa, and from the rest of the cast. Jack Black did not disappoint. It was almost a little bit of a musical, which I'm not generally a fan of because musicals like take me out of it when people start singing. I think like, oh, that's right. I'm watching a movie. Maybe that wasn't the case because I was in a theater with a bunch of children who were talking, like literally right over my shoulder, and grandma or whomever brought the kid to the movie just constantly, shh, quiet, no talking. I'm like, yeah, I mean, proudly looking over at my kids who are standing up in the aisle. But at least they were being quiet. That's what happens when you when your child doesn't listen to you. Then they embarrass you in the movie theater. So that's a good one of many good reasons to make sure that your kids listen. You know, like running out into the middle of a busy street, another good reason. Getting into cars with strangers, another good reason to make sure your kids listen to you. And I find the longer I am in fatherhood, I suppose, and the more acquaintances, or I mean, not even acquaintances, just people I walk by in the grocery store, I can go, oh yeah, you screwed up, fellow parent, because now your kid doesn't listen to you, and look how embarrassed you are, and look at what a burden they are, because they don't listen to you. Anyway, I digress. We should probably get into the news, I suppose. I really am excited to do this show. It's a banger. I just hope I can keep my sick brain into it long enough to communicate the great show that you deserve. All right, that's Donald Trump posted a video of him blowing up. I mean, I don't know. Posted a video of him blowing up a bunch of Houthis. I mean, it's not like he was there, selfie, like, check out all these dead Houthis. Although that'd be pretty cool. Now, allegedly, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Damn it. Hold on. At least there's not much in the audio department. So if you're listening to audio, head over to X or Twitch or YouTube and check out the latest video. Pretty intense. I mean, I don't know. This could also be from a video game. Do you guys ever see those videos? They have like a sensational headline. They usually only show up when I'm like doom scrolling. Like, what's the next video? What's the next one I don't want to see about cats? I mean, sometimes I do want to see about cats. But every once in a while, there's like, the caption on the video is, oh, horrific airplane crash on the runway and then you look closely and you're like, no, that's Pilot Simulator 1999 or, whatever it is. It's Arma, which is a military simulation game. But he writes on X, Donald Trump, @RealDonaldTrump, these Houthis gathered for instructions on an attack. Oops, there will be no attack by these Houthis. They will never sink our ships again. But how do they really know? I mean, it could have been a fight club. They're standing in a big circle, maybe 50 of them. Allegedly planning an attack, and then boom! No more Houthis. No more road. No more immediate area. Let that be a lesson to you. I think we're learning a lot of harsh lessons as a species, I suppose, in Donald Trump's latest administration. And it's really heartening to feel like people get it, because Trump's approval rating is plus 50% at least. This is according to the polls and likely the pollsters that would hate to report that Donald Trump is doing well. Can't deny it. But you shouldn't believe them anyway, because newsflash, hey, Democrats, good luck getting anyone to believe you. We all know that you're liars now. And I think we have to give Donald Trump a lot of credit for that, regardless of how you feel about his personality or presidency or leadership, business history, any of it. Donald Trump sent the media so far off the deep end that now we know that everything they're reporting is at least twisted and perverted into for the purpose of making us believe something that really isn't true. Nevertheless, Republicans still can't get on the same page. We're trying to vote on bills. We're trying to vote on rules for proxy voting. And I think 9 Republicans are siding with Democrats because they just don't, because whatever reason they tell you is likely false. Because what they're really trying to do is satisfy their donors. They're trying to satisfy the billionaire class that contributes to their nonprofit organizations and to their reelection campaigns. And we all know in the current political climate, Congress people have to spend at least 50%, if not more, of their time fundraising for their next reelection. And this, of course, starts a conversation on term limits. Why is the president limited to 2 terms, but senators and Congress people have unlimited terms, can die in office, and get reelected over and over again? Well, it's because the legislature is really where all of the power is. And that's why judges can step in and block the executive, because he's making orders that haven't been litigated in the courts and they haven't been legislated by Congress. So we have judicial tyranny or we have a attempted judicial coup. But we'll get into it. Trump dropped a bunch of tariffs, which we'll get into. I have a lot of. But I'm just so sad for the hedge funds that lost so much money. Said no one ever. Like we're so, I mean, the culture, the media culture, I should say, is so anti-billionaire and so anti-rich guy because of communism and Marxism. That's what they want for all of us. Totalitarian communism. No freedom. You'll own nothing. You'll be happy. Don't worry. Until Donald Trump does something that impacts anything. And then the actors roll out. And I have more evidence of paid protesters, more ads on Craigslist, which I suppose could be faked. I mean, of course they could be faked. But first, I want to kick off with this. I just randomly happened across this video that's pretty old, I believe. I'm not sure if the date is listed in the video, but it was just posted March 30th by Afghan Zoroastrian. You think she's Armenian? No one knows. No one cares. Let's check it out.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace to you all. My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. I am here to ask you a simple question. I know that we portray Islam and all Muslims as bad, but there's 1.8 billion Muslim followers of Islam. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here. But my question is, how can we fight an ideological war with weapons? How can we ever end this war? The jihadist ideology that you talk about, it's an ideology. How can you ever win this thing if you don't address it ideologically?
Is it really an ideology or is it a doctrine? Maybe doctrine's too permanent for these people.
Yeah.
Great.
So for the audio-only listener, we're looking at a panel from the Heritage Foundation. Chris Plant, Claire Lopez, Brigitte Gabriel, and Frank Gaffney. And Brigitte Gabriel is about to respond.
Great question. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad you brought that up because it gives us an opportunity to answer. What I find so amazing is since the beginning of this panel, which we are here about Benghazi attack against our people, not one person mentioned Muslims. We are here against Islam, or we're launching war against Muslims. We are here to discuss how 4 Americans died and what our government is doing. We were not here to bash Muslims. You were the one who brought up the issue about most Muslims, not us. And since you brought it up, allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%, according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. That is as big of the United States. So why should we worry about the radicals, 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died. Almost 14 million in concentration camps. 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took
And we know what happens on 9/11/2001. I guess I'll let her keep going.
19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. So for all our powers of reasons and us talking about moderate and peaceful Muslims, I'm glad you're here. But where are the others speaking out? And since you are the only Muslim representative, save the applause till the end.
Why is she so fired up? I think that's enough. She makes her points, and there's over 2 minutes left in the video. The speaker or the question asker kind of it becomes a little bit bashful. I don't really want to say she backpedals a little bit, but she says, "Oh, I agree, and the radicals are bad." And who do you think is invading the Western world right now? Who do you think it is? Is it the 75% peaceful Muslims? I don't think so. Their behavior doesn't really strike me as peaceful. Now, I have 2 more videos that tie into this because I really think that what we're suffering is quote unquote a peaceful invasion. Peaceful only because it's not coming from a specific country. It is coming from an ideology or a doctrine. But the people that are coming are not peaceful. They have a job to do. And the left, I want to say the Democrats, but the Democrats don't really exist anymore if you haven't noticed. The left is all too happy to recruit them into their re-election efforts. I have this video. Ooh, it's long, but it's good. Let's see.
Strange trend here. And then you'll notice there's a strange trend here where...
So this is Elon Musk and one of his Doge team members exposing some of the things that they've learned.
And then you'll notice there's a strange trend here where how many social security numbers were issued? Do you want to?
Yeah. So let me tell you what happened here. We started at the top of the system.
You want to talk about a lot of it?
We started at the top of the system, mapping the whole system of Social Security to understand where all the fraud was.
Put it in
and
your
there's a lot of
mouth.
great people there that showed us
Lethal weapon
really a lot of waste. And so that came up with a big list of stuff they're working on. You've heard some of that already, but this is what jumped out at us. When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, just this literally blew us away. Like, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. And this isn't political, by the way. My parents are immigrants. Yeah, this country's been great to us. My brother and sister all born in Spain. I'm pro-legal immigration.
And he's got beautiful brown skin, if I may.
This is not political. This is about America and the future of America. And there are a lot of good people in the system that pointed us in this direction. I want to honor them right now, that work in the government today, who took risks to show us these numbers and tell us what's going on. Yeah. So I want to stop for a minute. I want to honor those people today. Very good people. Very good people. I have been from DC to Social Security offices to the border to track this down, and very good people have helped us along the way. I want to thank them.
Yeah.
This number, what this is when you come in the country, if you're illegal, there's a couple ways to come in. You come in through a port of entry, and you can tell them you're afraid, and they'll give you an asylum case. You'll get an interview, then you get in. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to just go to the border. Literally, this happened. I talked to Border Patrol myself. Elon was there too. I went to Laredo, and I went to Bronzeville. Elon went to Eagle Pass. You walk up to a Border Patrol officer, and you tell them you want to come in. They have a couple of choices. They could charge you with a misdemeanor or a felony under 1325, or they can make it an administrative offense, like a parking ticket, basically. They were told to do that, make it an administrative offense under the last administration. And then you go walk across the border. They do what's called a release your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, a notice to appear, which to appear to judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges. There's only 700 of them. This is 5.5 million people, okay? So what happens then? Once you're in the country and you got asylum through one of these pathways, and we map the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
This is worth just reiterating. It's not people sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. He wasn't asleep. No. They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Look, if I hadn't seen this myself, I'm not sure I'd have believed it. I went through it myself and mapped it, and Elon is right. This is true. The defaults in the system from Social Security to all of the benefit programs have been set to max inclusion, max pay for these people, and minimum collection. That's what's happening. We found 1.3 million of them already on Medicaid, as an example. We've gone through on every benefit program we went through, we found groups from this particular group of people, this 5.5 million people in those benefit programs. And then what was really, really disturbing us was why. We're asking ourselves why. Right. And so we actually just took a sample and looked at voter registration records. And we found people here registered to vote in this population, yes.
And who did vote.
And we found some by sampling that actually did vote. And we have referred them to prosecution at the Homeland Security Investigation Service.
Yeah.
Already, that is already happening right now. Yeah. And the truly disturbing thing, though, I just want you to know this, a truly disturbing thing to me, and the darkest thing about this to me, the voter fraud is terrible, but the human tragedy this created is extraordinary, because what you don't understand, and people don't know, and Americans need to know, that's why I'm here, is that human traffickers made $13 to $15 billion off of this, okay? That's the money that's going around the world, moving people around the world to our borders because of these incentives. How does it work? What happens? Hey, if you're in Africa and you're in Central America, you got to walk up through Mexico, through Central America. Who do you pay? You pay the narcos, you pay the traffickers, right? And we were told by ICE, it's between $20,000 and $500, depends where they pick you up, to walk across all those countries and get all the way up to the border. Where's that money goes? It goes to the cartels. It goes to human traffickers, right? There are 30,000 children that have not appeared on the notice to appear already. ICE knows this. 30,000 children, 270,000 children didn't even get notices to appear. ICE told us that kids are being trafficked back and forth across the border to complete families to make this easier. This is a human tragedy. It's not just the money, it's the people and the kids. And how many of these people died on the way up here that didn't make it in? What happened to them? We created a system here that created a incentive for people to come and be taken advantage of by these traffickers. And how do you think they get paid? What, you're in Africa, Central America, you got $20,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 to pay these traffickers? No, you don't. What happens? You come in, then you owe them the money.
You come in, you collect government benefits, and this allows you to pay the cartels back what little cash you earn, because you got some food stamps, you got some Section 8 housing assistance, because the Democrats will happily facilitate the human trafficking, the illegal immigration, because they have someone in their ear telling them this is your cash cow. It's your gravy train. You're never going to have to worry about getting reelected again, not only because we're going to fill your coffers with campaign cash, but also we've imported all of these voters for you. All you have to do is let it happen. Come on, guy. It'll be great. And this is why they have to attack Elon Musk relentlessly, along with Donald Trump and all of the people. I mean, you've heard all the propaganda over the months. Oh, these barely Zoomers, these 20-year-old kids that can't even have a beer, but they're going through everybody's social security numbers and all their tax records and all. Yeah, this is why they don't want to let them do that, because they're finding out that these people that have social security numbers and collecting U.S. government benefits aren't even actually citizens of the country. And you think it's really, you think it's just the random left? You think it's college kids that are just putting this together and realizing, oh, hey, if we put tremendous pressure on Elon Musk's companies, then we'll be able to get rid of him and get him out of Doge and sort of place all of these obstacles in his path along this journey that he's taking into the nethers of the United States government and the way that they've been ripping us off and our tax money for years. Oh, goodness. Well, we still have, we're still experiencing. Have I played a Donald Trump video? I don't think she's watching in the right spot. I don't think I've played a Donald Trump video yet. But I am delirious because of this cold, so maybe I'm wrong. All right, I'll send her a link. Perhaps that will help. I got a viewer on Twitch. Thank you. Hold on. I'm sorry to be doing this in the middle of the show, but I got to make sure that this stuff is going out, and the quality control person that I have is unable to see what's going on. But let me just be grateful. Okay. Back to it. Thank you again for joining me and bearing with me through all this. It's a one-man operation, and I think that's for the best at this point. I'm proud and I feel accomplished that I'm able to conduct this in maybe a 8 out of 10 fashion because it's pretty satisfying. It's pretty satisfying to pull off all the elements and get at least a halfway decent product out to you. But back to my point. It's not the average college liberal that is coming up with these ideas and these ways to apply economic pressure, because that's the best kind of pressure, right? They're like the Sith. What does a Sith fear the most? Losing their power. That's who's running the show. But get a load of this guy. You think this guy is masterminding? No, somebody handed him a sign and $10 and said, come on, buddy.
So what makes Trump a fascist? What makes Trump a fascist?
He does things without
Yeah, talk loud. I don't have my mic on.
I'm not really good into interviews.
Sorry?
he just doesn't. He just does everything he wants, and not following laws or he's a
Holding a sign that says Trump, the fascist Trump regime must go. And a refusefascism.org. Dare we? Let's do it. Let's go to refuse. Do I got my VPN on? Oh, I'm afraid to turn it on now. It'll screw everything up. I guess they can know that I came. Did I even spell it right? There it is. In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. So this reminds me of a saying that Adam Carolla repeats fairly often. Stupid or liar? The person that built this website. Stupid or liar? I suppose there's a third option. Paid? Stupid liar or paid? There was a massive paid protest in DC yesterday, I believe. It may be going on again today. I'll scroll up so that you can see video of the protest and hear what they're talking about. But first, look at this is the comment that I reposted on X. If you want to take a look yourself, you can go to @earthvox and find it. It should be towards the top. I'm more of a reply guy right now. Thomas Stevenson @RealTStevenson on X said, oh, look, another one in Washington, D.C. Compensation, cash. This post reads massive, this Craigslist post reads massive anti-Trump protest, merch sales team, Saturday, April 5th. Hiring a large team to sell women's March Indivisible 50501 merchandise at a massive anti-Trump march in DC on Saturday, April 5th, 2025. Now, they classify it this way to make it seem legitimate. Then they talk about their bona fides. We have worked more than 200 women's march events since 2017. This just brings to mind the 2014 Maidan coup, which was perpetuated on Ukraine via the feminist movement. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Saturday, April 5th, noon to 6 p.m., location TBA, 20% commission, cash paid. So you ain't even got to pay taxes on it. How clever. Nothing to see there. Nothing to see there. This is where they get all of the dumb people to show up to these protests. And this was proven via cell phone data, because once the precedent was set on January 6th, 2021, corporations, private organizations went out and spent millions of dollars to obtain these cell phone records that show the people that were going to the Kamala Harris, literally 8,000 people that showed up to Kamala Harris rallies were following the bus around and going to every Kamala Harris rally. So immediately upon holding the rally, they've got 8,000 people that were at the last rally and the rally before that. Is that coincidence? Is that circumstance? I feel like it's evidence of, I think they call it astroturfing, which is fake shit, right? AstroTurf, it's fake grass. It's faking the grassroots movements that these politicians love to talk about. They love to point to and say, this is the example of how the people really feel. Look at this huge amount of support that we have. And what better audience, what better cohort than a bunch of broke college students? Hey, you want to make $100? What's 100 times 20,000? 2 million? Math is not my strong suit. Don't look at me. 20,000 times 100. 2 million. A cool 2 million bucks to make a giant impact on the perception of your movement. All right, let's watch this video.
That is the battle between good and evil. Netanyahu was right when he said this is a war between light and darkness. We only get the sides mixed up. It is a war between light and dark because the human beings are deprived of their human dignity. They're being massacred like we are seeing in Gaza.
Was that the Palestinian flag? A huge, like 20 by 40. Maybe not that bad. Probably about that big. 20 by 50 Palestinian flag being carried by the crowd. While the speaker yells about good and evil, light and darkness. That Netanyahu was right. It is a fight between good and evil and light and dark. Who's the dark side? Do you think? Who's the light side and who's the dark side? Let me know. Fill me in. Leave a comment. Slide into my DMs. I think the evil side is the side that's raping and pillaging their way across Western Europe and attempting to do the same in the United States. That's just the way that it strikes me. And what do you call it? When a person or a group of people come to a country with a different culture from their own, this is one of the things I love to point out. One of the reasons for all the conflict in the Middle East is because France and Britain just carved the territory up the way they saw fit. And they gave no credence to culture or geography or anything. Almost the way my conspiracy brain would like to think. Deliberately to keep all of the factions fighting with each other nonstop and keep the area destabilized and ripe for the pillaging. Because, we're not perfect. The UK, France, Germany, obviously. The West. What do you call it? When a group of people not from that area move in and expect or even demand that the native people who were there first adopt their cultures and their traditions. And what does the media tell you? Hey, diversity is our strength, bro. We need to celebrate our diversity because it's our strength. That's what the media tells us about this. Respect their culture. They're refugees. They're asylees. They deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. But the legacy media has been demonizing Western cultures for years because of the same thing. Because of their invasions and nation building and other objectionable behavior, the West isn't perfect. We can admit that. But they have nothing to say. They have nothing to say about all of the violence that's being perpetrated upon us. The citizens of the country where they built their business. The struggle is between light and darkness. But that's a matter of perspective, isn't it? Of course, if you're a Palestinian, you think that the darkness is Israel. And of course, if you're Israeli, you think that the darkness is Palestinian, to put it in simple terms. And I'm just reminded of the Crusades. Pondering these stories over the week really brought that into my mind. You know, the Crusades began in 1095 because a pope said that we need to liberate Jerusalem from the Muslim invaders, which had had control of that area for like 400 years. So, I mean, think what you want to about that. They control the, like what's the statute of limitations on a conquering? I mean, you could point to that and say, there's no reason that we should have gone to war with there's no reason the Christian world should have gone to war with the Muslim world after 400 years of them controlling that territory. But I believe the history is, I looked it up. I don't know if I still have it saved. I tried to preserve it. Yes, it's here. Jerusalem was lost to Muslim control in 638. Then the Crusades began to liberate Jerusalem and the Holy Land in 1095. Pope Urban II called for a military expedition. But prior to the Muslim invasion, the Romans controlled that area for 700 years, and they took it from the Jews. So the Romans took it from the Jews, the Muslims took it from the Romans, and then the Christians said, we're going to take this back. And then almost 1,000 years later, the West wins World War II and says, we're going to give the Israelis, we're going to give the Jews a little strip of land right here. And we're going to surround them with their enemies, and probably that'll be fine. And now we're really experiencing, in my opinion, now we're really experiencing the consequences of these decisions, because we've clearly moved outside of this, what do they call it? Kinetic warfare. We're firing bullets and rockets and blowing things up. Kinetic warfare. Now we're into information and economic warfare. That's why the legacy media keeps all of these stories about violent Muslims super quiet. And if anybody questions, if anybody speaks out, well, I mean, if you live in Europe, they take you to jail. If you live in the UK and you post anything suspicious about it online, or skeptical, I mean, not suspicious, they'll come to your house. They'll put you away for a while. Because there is a higher power, not that high, but higher than the media, higher than the politicians. They're facilitating this whole thing. They're trying to do it under cover of darkness. They're trying to do it in disguise. Oh, these are refugees. They're asylees. Don't be mad at them. They just want a better life. They're scared, guys. They don't seem very scared. They seem like terrorists to me, in the most literal translation. Because people are scared to walk down the streets. They're scared to use public transportation. But if you call it out, you're the bad guy. And if you try to push back against it, you get this. My share this tab button is gone because I closed all my tabs. Here you go. This just happened in France. Let's start it over.
C'est la folie. C'est la folie. Regardez comment ils vont casser les voitures des policiers.
We're seeing a bunch of black blockers.
Non, c'est pas vrai.
About 30 to account. Leave it in the comments. About 30 alleged Muslim refugees chasing French police officers out of a no-go zone. From open source intel at OSINT 613. This audio is distracting AF. French police were forced to flee after a violent assault by migrant gangs in the Saint-Denis no-go zone in Paris yesterday. Meanwhile, Macron lectures Israel about targeting Hezbollah. Yeah. Yeah. It's a problem. But don't talk about it or you'll go to prison. Because that's the way the justice system works for you now. or the French people. But wait, just the French people? I mean, Marine Le Pen was just found guilty. This post from Peter Sweden at Peter Sweden 7. She is now facing 5 years in prison and being banned from running for president in the 2027 French election. She has been seen as the favorite to win the election. What's going on? He continues in his comment. They just banned her from running for president despite being the favorite to win. Sounds very democratic. It sounds exactly like what the judiciary is doing in Western cultures across the world. I think it's pretty clear. The globalist plan to destroy Western society involved using corrupt judges to subvert the will of the people and the politicians they elected. But why Marine Le Pen? I asked Grok. He said, it said Marine Le Pen, the former leader of France's National Rally, previously National Front, has consistently held a hardline stance on immigration, including policies toward migrants and refugees. Her positions reflect a nationalist and anti-immigration ideology aimed at prioritizing French citizens and reducing the influx of foreigners into France. Le Pen has advocated for a significant reduction in legal immigration, proposing a moratorium to limit it to a minimal level, such as a net annual cap of 10,000 people. She has argued for repealing laws that allow illegal immigrants to gain legal residency and has called for the reduction of benefits like free medical care provided to undocumented immigrants, viewing these as incentives that attract more arrivals. She has described illegal immigration as a, quote, tragedy for France, claiming it strains resources and threatens national identity. So what global leaders' policies does this sound most similar to? Oh, was it perhaps the same leader of the United States that the left attempted to put in prison, ban from participating in politics, and financially ruin? One Donald J. Trump? It sure sounds similar to that. So, of course, in lands where tyranny is more easily foisted upon the people, we have stories like this from Peter Sweden regarding Marine Le Pen. So what did she do? Surely she must have done something. From the Gateway Pundit, sensationalist far-right rag that I love for that very reason. Don't worry, grain of salt. Grain of salt always, people. Conservative media would lie to you just as often as leftist media if it served their purpose. The French political establishment is following in the footsteps of other European parties by trying to ban their conservative opposition from office. Marine Le Pen, the leader of France's National Rally and the current frontrunner to become the country's next president, sounds very familiar, may be banned from holding public office for 5 years and even imprisoned if she is convicted in a politically motivated embezzlement trial. She was convicted, I think 2 years is what I heard. I've heard 2 years, 4 years. Maybe they have a good behavior sort of stipulation. This X post from @amuse reads, democracy? All caps, question mark. The EU is desperate to keep conservatives out of power across Europe. Their latest effort is to ban the leading French presidential candidate, Marine Le Pen, from office for 5 years and to jail her for a campaign finance violation. Oh, well, you violated, they claim. Back to the article, that Le Pen and others paid party staffers with around $600,000. $600,000. Can you believe they're banning the leading presidential candidate, prime ministerial candidate, president? Europe and all their words. They claim that Le Pen and other parties paid Le Pen and others paid party staffers, there we go, with around $600,000 in European Union money under the false pretense that they were working as parliamentary assistants. It sounds like literally a clerical error. She has denied any and all wrongdoing. If convicted, she may also face a prison sentence of up to 10 years, although it would likely be substantially shorter than this. Should she also be barred from office, Le Pen would be forced to pass the mantle to another, perhaps less experienced and recognized member of her National Rally Party. So it hurts her, it hurts the party, and it's exactly what the totalitarian left wants for the Western world. But isn't it interesting? We keep classifying it as the totalitarian left. It's the communists. It's the communists. And then the communists go, no, it's the right. You're a fascist. It's the fascists. Hey, everybody, do you know what a fascist, you know what a fascist is? No? Good. Hold this sign. Go to this rally. Here's $20. But what is Islam? What are Muslims traditionally, allegedly? They're far right. They're far right. But the communists, quote unquote, the communists are facilitating the influx of these literal far right extremist Islamists and others. It's not just them. I got more details on that. Oh, I'm excited to get to Marco Rubio. But first, Senator John Kennedy. Because all of these moves that these judges are making have no sorry, missed the cough button. They have no basis in legislation or in legal precedent.
A universal injunction is what we call an order from a court enjoining.
I'll start it over.
A universal injunction is what we call an order from a court enjoining the government in a way that goes beyond the parties to the case, but applies nationwide or in some cases universally to enjoin the government.
Is it sometimes referred to as a nationwide injunction?
Yes, it is, Senator.
What's the statutory basis for a federal judge issuing an order that affects people other than the parties before the court?
I'm not aware of a statutory basis, Senator.
There is no statutory basis, is there?
No, Senator.
What's the United States Supreme Court opinion which interprets the Constitution in a way that allows a federal district court judge to do this? Can you name me that case?
I'm not aware of one, Senator.
There isn't one, is there?
I'm not aware of one, Senator.
Explain to me how this works. How can a federal judge issue an order that affects everybody else other than those in front of him or her? How is that possible?
It shouldn't be possible, Senator, but district courts do it all the time. I think on the theory that the courts need to enjoin a federal policy from going into effect, and they often will enjoin it as nationwide, so all non-parties are protected by that injunction.
I thought that if you wanted to affect parties who aren't in court, you had to file a class action.
That's correct, Senator.
So why don't the federal judges, instead of issuing a universal injunction with no legal basis, tell the plaintiff, look, you got to go file a class action if you want to impact parties who aren't subject to my court?
Senator, the Department of Justice makes that argument all the time in our briefs. I think in many cases, class actions would be inappropriate. They wouldn't, the plaintiffs couldn't satisfy Rule 23 to establish a class.
So they couldn't?
Correct.
So they prefer to ask for a universal injunction?
Yes.
Does this encourage forum shopping?
Yes, Senator. Not only does it encourage forum shopping, but also district shopping and filing multiple strategic lawsuits to find one judge that will enjoin a single policy nationwide. If you have 5 lawsuits, a plaintiff, only one of those 5 cases needs to be successful.
Okay, we've established that there's no basis in statute and no basis in Supreme Court precedent for universal injunction. How about a common law? I mean, universal injunction is basically an equitable remedy. Did this exist in common law courts in England on which our law is based?
I don't believe so, Senator. I think the government has cited cases from the Supreme Court that says, courts are really bound by the scope of relief that a court in equity would have granted back in England before the founding. And the courts at that time would grant relief to the parties in the case, not far beyond the.
A universal injunction as a remedy is unknown in English common law, is it not?
I haven't done the research that far back, but I'm not aware.
I have. It's unknown. Wasn't part of equity. Only about 27 universal injunctions were issued in the 20th century. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right, Senator.
But 86 of them were issued against President Trump in his first term. Is that correct?
I don't know the specific number, but they were a high number.
And so far in President Trump's second term, 30 universal injunctions have been issued against him. Have they not?
Senator, I don't have a specific number, but that sounds about right.
The universal injunction has become a weapon against the Trump administration, has it not?
Yes.
And tell me again in my last 10 seconds, tell me the basis for universal injunction in Article 3. I read Article 3, which defines judicial power. Where does it mention universal injunction?
It does not, Senator. It says courts are to decide the case or controversy before them, which is based on the parties to the case.
So the Congress could act and say, look, federal judges, you render a decision to a plaintiff or a defendant, but you can't impact people outside of your courtroom other than through a class action. That's why God created class actions, isn't it?
Yes, Senator.
So what they're doing is not legal. There's no legal precedent for them to be stopping Donald Trump in this manner. They can't issue these universal injunctions as they've been doing. And if it were courts that were doing this against a Democrat president, the mainstream media would be going apeshit. And our country would literally be burning. But since it's a Republican president, since it's Donald Trump, since it's an outsider, we get none of this. We have to do deep dives into Twitter to find John Kennedy, senator from Louisiana, poking holes in all of these legal theories. Props to John Kennedy. But of course, the mainstream media's fallback were anyone to see this podcast. I'm sure I'm on a list of horrible Nazis because I talk about these things and I expose this information. Calling all of these people a Nazi is not new. In fact, it goes back to the 40s.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable buildups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind." In 1943, the following...
That's the playbook on display. Can't miss it. It's every day in the headlines. It's an anti-fascist. Oh, man, I heard this. Oh, this awesome comic, Leonardo Javoy, I think. Leonarda Javoy, female. Tell this awesome joke about these Down syndrome gangs. Have you heard of these? Yeah, you've seen them. There's these Down syndrome gangs that go around causing riots and stirring up all this trouble. I'm a horrible comedian. But yeah, these Down syndrome gangs, they're called Antifa. Ha ha, zing. Although I believe it gives people suffering from Down syndrome a bad name. It certainly isn't too far-fetched to refer to Antifa as mentally handicapped, little mentally challenged. They eat this stuff up. They've got their marching orders. They don't have to have intelligence. Here's the sign. Here's $10. Everybody's a fascist. Don't worry. We'll have a choir leader there to take you through all of the chants. It's simple. Just show up and repeat after me. And this will somehow perpetuate the message that there's tremendous public support behind these cultural narratives. And don't forget, anybody that doesn't agree with you is a Nazi. Speaking of Nazis, Rachel Zegler, talented as she may be, is pretty awful. And I brought this up in response to a comment we got from the last show. I have a hard time really dumping everything on Rachel Zegler, because I guarantee you she only cares about these political perspectives because people tell her that she needs to believe in these political perspectives. And I also believe, as I believe with most actors that say and do dumb, politically motivated things, that they're being threatened by their agency to support this position, regurgitate this narrative, or we'll drop you. And you'll have a much more difficult time finding work. And then maybe the union will drop you and you won't get any more insurance, and you won't even, if you will have an even larger obstacle to working in your field that you are tremendously talented and need to be working in. But let's hear what a peach Rachel Zegler is.
I get stopped for photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
Wait, how often are you in line for the Snow White ride?
I'm a narcissist. I don't know. It's always like
I'm a narcissist, but I hate it when people come up and tell me how much they love me. I don't think they call that a narcissist. I think that word starts with a B.
my publicist Ashton was with me the last time it happened, and I was like, God, I hope no one, because every time they come up to me, I'm always online for this freaking ride, and they think it's like I'm standing there waiting for the photo op, being like,
well, you kind of are, you know.
No, I guess
it's like
so.
if Harrison Ford's not standing outside of Indiana Jones.
Was gifted very good cheekbones from God, which is something I thank him for constantly. When I was a kid, I used to manifest having cheekbones and dimples, and I got them both. Keep manifesting, ladies.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
That's the face of regret. That's why she's getting emotional. She realized that she stepped in it. She listened to the wrong people, and now she's going to have a hard time getting work for a few years. She's got a couple more movies that she's already done. I know I brought up a couple weeks ago. I mean, I'm really getting the content out of this Rachel Zegler Snow White debacle. She has no more planned projects. She's got this Y2K movie coming out, and looks like she's doing the voice of this movie Spellbound. I don't, maybe that's out already. But I think that's it, folks. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the political climate. It depends on, of course, that was Disney. But she's going to have a hard road to hoe, and I don't think that these are fake tears. I think she's trying to give herself a little bit of a pep talk. I think that's what a lot of these celebrity blogs are about. I'm not as bad as everybody says I am, guys. But she can't go in there and say, oh, somebody put me up to it. I don't really believe that. That would be just as bad. Now let's get into the meat. What do you say? Trump dropped tariffs on the world, and people are mad, I guess. I mean, of course, people around the world are going to be mad because the gravy train has left the station.
will forever be remembered as the day, April 2nd, 2025, will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that.
But it's an outrage. It's an outrage in the media and among leftist politicians that we're just reciprocating on the same tariffs that are harming our economy, harming our ability to create jobs for middle-class Americans. Trump shows up and says, we're going to even things out a little bit, and everybody goes crazy.
This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before. Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back. We're going to come back very strongly. For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers to decimate our industries. And in many cases, the non-monetary barriers were worse than the monetary ones. They manipulated their currencies, subsidized.
I wonder honestly, this just occurred to me. I wonder if some of the non-monetary trade barriers, which he does discuss, but I wonder if some of them had to do with, I don't know, maybe the antibiotics that we inject into our livestock, the GMO corn and other foods that we grow and feed to our own people, the glyphosate that we spray all over the wheat. I wonder how much of it has to do with that. And I wonder what RFK is going to do in response to this. And I wonder, I would be really disappointed to learn that the reason that we have these trade barriers is because of sort of the poisonous nature of the things that we're trying to export.
Their exports, stole our intellectual property, imposed exorbitant VAT taxes to disadvantage our products, adopted unfair rules and technical standards, and created filthy pollution havens. They were absolutely filthy, but they always came to us and they said, we're violating, we should pay for it. It's all detailed in a very big report by the U.S. Trade Representative on Foreign Trade Barriers. And I'll just hold it up for you. It's available, and you don't have to pay too much. As I understand it, you'll pay nothing. It's a lot of work. A
huge thick book. He's holding up a big thick book of foreign trade barriers.
It's very, frankly, it's very upsetting when you read it, when you see what people have been doing to us for 30 years. This all happened with no response from the United States of America, none whatsoever. But those days are over. The United States charges other countries only a 2.4 tariff on motorcycles. Meanwhile, Thailand and others are charging much higher prices, like 60%. India charges 70%. Vietnam charges 75%, and others are even higher than that. Likewise, until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff. Think of that, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher. India charges 70%, and perhaps worst of all are the non-monetary restrictions imposed by South Korea, Japan, and very many other nations as a result of these colossal trade barriers. 81% of the cars in South Korea are made in South Korea. 94% of the cars in Japan are made in Japan. Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none. Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other.
And what's the narrative about this? What's the narrative about the American-made car? Oh, they're not very good. That's why they don't sell anywhere. Oh, okay. I mean, maybe they're not very good because we can't afford to invest in the improvement of the products because we already have these trade barriers and tariffs, and we have to be able to sell the vehicle at a reasonable price. Maybe that's the reason. You can find the full video online. That video is 15 minutes long. It covers all of the tariffs. We bumped it up a little bit on China. And the market crashed. It was a total tank job. Why? Why is the market so mad? From CNBC, Dow drops 2,200 points Friday, and the S&P loses 10% in 2 days as Trump's tariff rout deepens. Why weren't the markets excited? I mean, why wasn't the market happy that American companies were going to be doing well? That American businesses would be strengthened and good paying jobs for the middle class will be created? Because Wall Street has made their choice. They've decided that they're going to go with foreign investments over American investment. Why? Well, your guess is as good as mine. What do you think they would tell you? Oh, it's just foreign-made products are more profitable. American products aren't very good. The real reason, in my opinion, is the destruction of Western society. We have to gut the middle class. We have to disarm the citizens. We have to put the tyrannical boot on the neck of the last free society on the planet. But why has a leftist never? I mean, there's video of Obama. I think I still have it in here. I'm gonna skip down to it. Video of Obama pumping tariffs. Tariffs were good, Obama says.
We had a time.
This is from the I think 2012 election debate against Mitt Romney.
We had a tire case in which they were flooding us with cheap domestic tires or cheap Chinese tires. And we put a stop to it. And as a consequence, saved jobs throughout America. I have to say that Governor Romney criticized me.
Interesting, saving jobs he classifies as a consequence.
For being too tough in that tire case. Said this wouldn't be good for American workers and that it would be protectionist. But I tell you, those workers don't feel that way. They feel as if they had finally an administration who was going to take this issue seriously.
I mean, maybe it wouldn't be good for American workers that had to go buy more expensive tires to put on their cars. Maybe it wouldn't have been good in that respect. But I think Wall Street's foreign investment tendencies all come on the backs of these terrible trade deals that were brought into being by the Clinton administration and the Obama administration under the guise of, I'm sure, being good for the American worker. Because why? Like, how would you couch that? Oh, because these companies will save a lot of money and they'll be able to pay their workers more. They'll be able to invest more in their companies on American shores. But that, of course, didn't happen because there were no regulations put in place to facilitate that. So bye-bye jobs, bye-bye steel plants, bye-bye tire manufacturing. I guess just learn to code. That's fine. No big deal. And this is the guy that made it legal for the mainstream media to lie to you. What a peach. I had Grok explain to me what tariffs are. Just a brief, simple description. Tariffs are taxes imposed by governments on goods being imported into or exported out of a country. They're typically used to raise revenue, protect domestic industries by making foreign goods more expensive, or influence trade balances. For example, if a country puts a tariff on imported steel, it might cost more to buy from abroad, encouraging people to purchase locally made steel instead. They're a common tool in international trade, but their effects depend on how and why they're applied. Now, maybe you heard the story about Trump tariffing penguins. Remember that? Well, there's a couple islands in Australia, and I had to really push Grok on this to get this information because there's still a lot of liberal lefties that work at X. And I'm sure it's probably helpful to the success of Grok that he has a little bit of a leftist slant because Elon is trying to dodge the slings and arrows from the crazy leftist communist culture. But I pressed him on why the mainstream media is reporting that Trump is tariffing uninhabited islands. Islands inhabited only by penguins. And I learned these islands are territories of Australia. And Australia was slapped with a 10% tariff on all of their exports. The media seized on this opportunity to make Donald Trump appear like he's just not really paying attention. He's just firing from the hip. You get a tariff. Everybody gets a tariff. As if he's reckless, unbalanced, immeasured. But I learned that not tariffing these two uninhabited islands would provide Australia a loophole on its exports by classifying these islands as what would you call it? The land of origin. They could say, no, these fish didn't come from Australia. They came from Heard Islands. They came from McDonald Island. And look, Donald Trump didn't put any tariffs on these islands. So we can export the fish from these fisheries that are operating in these waters and circumvent the tariffs. But the media is going to twist that and make it sound like, oh, dumb old Donnie's not paying attention to what he's doing. When really he's being very cunning and making sure that Australia doesn't have an out in their tariff negotiations. And I have a video. I'm gonna skip ahead to this video because it's not saved in my damn. Let me see if I can work around. Again, I'm having these little issues with my notes populating between my two machines. I saved this video detailing how $50 countries, I guess I don't have it. Or maybe it's further up than I'm looking. 50 countries have now, it's been reported as of yesterday, 50 countries have stepped up and said, let's negotiate on these tariffs. So before anything terrible could even happen, Wall Street sold off, tanked the stock market. This allowed the mainstream media and the Democratic politicians to point to how terrible Trump is And look what's happening to your pensions, and look what's happening to your 401k. And oh, are you getting what you voted for? Do you have Trump regret yet? He's so bad. We've been telling you. Yeah, we don't believe you guys. You blew it. You lied to us too much for us to believe anything that you say. It's F around and find out time. You effed around. And now you're finding out. And I'm not talking about Rachel Maddow and Jake Tapper and the stupid personalities that go online and lie to your face every night. I'm talking about the people that pay them. The people that own all of these companies. That are now feeling the effects of their anti-American agenda. And Marco Rubio is leading the charge. He's got this great 10-minute video. I'm gonna repost it on my X account because it's 10 minutes long. I don't think I'm gonna play the whole thing, but I'm feeling pretty good about my Secretary of State. I think you should too.
Markets are crashing around the world for the second day in a row. The consensus is that the president's tariffs were much higher than expected and based on economic formulas that people do not understand. What is your reaction and what is the impact on Europeans? You want them to spend more on defense,
Yes.
which they're agreeing to finally. But how can they do that when their economies are crashing and they are now
No, their
afraid to-
no. Their economies are not crashing. The markets are reacting. No, their economies are not crashing. Their markets are reacting to a dramatic change in the global order in terms of trade. And so what happens is pretty straightforward. If you're a company and you make a bunch of your products in China, and all of a sudden shareholders or people that play the stock market realize that it's going to cost a lot more to produce in China, your stock is going to go down. But ultimately, the markets, as long as they know what the rules are going to be moving forward, and as long as that's set and you can sustain where you're going to be, the markets will adjust. Businesses around the world, including in trade and global trade, they just need to know what the rules are. Once they know what the rules are, they will adjust to those rules. So I don't think it's fair to say economies are crashing. Markets are crashing because markets are based on the stock value of companies who today are embedded in modes of production that are bad for the United States. We have to be a country that think we're the largest consumer market in the world, and yet the only thing we export is services. And we need to stop that. We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that, we have to reset the global order of trade.
The other part of my question.
Well, the worst thing is to leave it the way it is forever. I mean, this is just can't continue. We can't continue to be a country that doesn't make things. We have to be able to make things to provide jobs for Americans. That's it. It's that simple. China, as an example, I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, they don't consume anything. All they do is export and flood and distort markets, in addition to all the tariffs and barriers they put in place. So the president rightly has concluded that the current status of global trade is bad for America and good for a bunch of other people, and he's going to reset it, and he's absolutely right to do
Let me
it.
ask you about also the predictability of relationships with allies. The Prime Minister of Greenland, the Prime Minister of Denmark, which at this point owns Greenland, so Denmark, a NATO ally, is saying that it's unacceptable that one country cannot annex another country.
Well, no one's annexed anything. It's going to be up to Greenlanders. The vice president made that clear. He's going to respect the self-determination of Greenlanders. So at some point, the Greenlanders have made clear that they want to be independent of Denmark. So that's Denmark should focus on the fact that the Greenlanders don't want to be a part of Denmark. That's what they should focus on. We didn't give them that idea. They've been talking about that for a long time. Whenever they make that decision, they'll make that decision. And then what we're not going to do is let China come in now and say, offer them a bunch of money and become, dependent on China.
The president said he would not rule out using military force against Denmark, a NATO ally.
No, he said he would not rule out. No. He said he would not rule out. He said, I'm not going to rule out anything if Greenland is encroached upon by a foreign power like a China or Russia or anybody else. But it doesn't matter because Greenlanders are going to make a decision. They're the ones that want to get away from Denmark. They're the ones that want to be independent. And not us. We didn't come up with that idea. They did. And if they make that decision, then the United States would stand ready potentially to step in and say, okay, we can create a partnership with you. We're not at that stage, but that's what the vice president made clear last week in his visit there. His statement was very abundantly clear that we will respect the self-determination of the people of Greenland. people of Greenland, and they're the ones that want to leave Denmark. That wasn't our idea.
All right, well, second question here, Missy from Washington Post.
Mr. Secretary, I'd like to ask you about the Russia-Ukraine negotiations. Can you give us...
There's no new info on that front. No pun intended. But a nice little update from Marco. And Marco making moves. I found the video. It wasn't hard to find when it's a headline like 50 countries are showing up to negotiate. We have Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett.
I got a report from the USTR last night that more than 50 countries have reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. But they're doing that because they understand that they bear a lot of the tariff. And so I don't think that you're going to see a big effect on the consumer in the US, because I do think that the reason why we have a persistent long-run trade deficit is these people have very inelastic supply. They've been dumping goods into the country in order to create jobs, say, in China.
And the market crashed because the people that have all of the foreign investment are going to be losing money, as we just heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And it's going to impact their profits. They knew the tariffs were coming, and how nice of Donald Trump to announce. Almost like, hey, I'm letting you guys know this is happening so that you can short your markets or sell off your stocks or do whatever you need to do before this happens. So maybe don't slander me in the press. But I don't really think he believed that that was going to happen. I think maybe he's relying on people like me to bring this message. The corporate overlords are evil, and they want to take away what you have. They want to destroy the middle class in the country, in this country, and all Western countries. We see it happening. It's not unique to us. Because the ultimate goal is totalitarianism, global totalitarianism. Nothing good. And definitely not run by the people that have any of your best interests in mind. But I'm sure just as Trump predicted, the countries are all coming forward and saying, hey, we don't want these tariffs. Because why? Because the tariffs are bad for them. They're not just bad for us. It shouldn't shock you to believe that Donald Trump isn't running around firing tariffs out of a potato gun, saying, I don't care what happens because I just want to whatever. Like, it doesn't, their line of thinking doesn't even go that far. It's not based in logic. It's based in nonsense. Other Marco Rubio news, perpetuating the F around and find out mantra. Marco Rubio has revoked all South Sudan visas and bars future issuance. Why? Because they're not taking back their refugees, their asylees, their illegal immigrants that have now been deported. From the article, Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Saturday announced the U.S. will revoke visas held by South Sudanese passport holders, and no others will be issued effective immediately. You take back your migrants, you repatriate your citizens, or you done. Aaron. That's not really his name. Salva Kiir Mayardit is the president of South Sudan. Fully in bed with the globalists and helping, no doubt, facilitate the alleged invasion, peaceful invasion of the Western world. Almost none of the people have been vetted. How do we know they're not soldiers in sleeper cells waiting to go to war with the United States? How do we know? We don't. We have no idea. We can speculate, oh, it's probably fine. But we have no way of knowing. Klaus Schwab has stepped down as the chairman of the World Economic Forum to be replaced, no doubt, by some other globalist sycophant. From Breitbart, the globalist World Economic Forum founder Klaus Schwab has begun to, quote, start the process of stepping down as chair of its board of trustees. The Geneva-based institution confirmed Thursday. The German academic said the forum, which convenes its annual gathering of world elites at the Swiss resort of Davos, must recover its, quote, sense of mission after a period of turmoil. The Financial Times first reported Schwab's departure, citing a letter to trustee board members and confirmation by two people with knowledge of the situation. The missive reportedly said, in part, I am deeply convinced that in today's special context, the forum is more important and relevant than ever before. It is also financially very well equipped thanks to successful financial management since its beginning. What is essential now after the turmoil of the last months is to recover our sense of mission. They see the writing on the wall. They're reading between the lines. We don't want it. We want to own things. We feel like we'll be happier if we own things. Like property. Like bodily autonomy. And we've been voting for it. And the judges are failing. I don't know if the judges in France, in Europe, in the other Western countries are going to be overturned. But I know we have about 400 million, probably 450 million privately owned guns in this country. And that's how we maintain our freedom. That's how we maintain the last free society on the planet. Because we're armed and we're educated and we're learning. And the ignorant leftists have been exposing themselves for the last 10 years, and we're wising up. And now the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of Trump. A judge came out and told Donald Trump that he has to keep the grants from the Department of Education going to the people that they were going to. From the article, the Supreme Court on Friday afternoon put on hold an order by a federal judge in Massachusetts that would have required the Department of Education to reinstate more than $65 million in grants that it terminated in February because they funded programs that included diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. More cultural rot, more destruction of Western society. These are what the judges are ruling for. This is what the judges are facilitating. But now Donald Trump's in charge. We have record levels of recruitment in the FBI, in the military, in Border Patrol. Because people can see real leadership. The American people have spoken. The free people of the Western world have spoken. And now the deep state is instructing their judges to obstruct the will of the people. Finally, let's talk about Cory Booker, senator from New Jersey, former mayor of Newark, failed presidential candidate. He gave a speech on the Senate floor. Actually, let's first talk about this article. I'll pull it up just so that you can see it. But I have the excerpt that I wanted to read. What we're learning in real time is that the civil service is one of the country's most important engines of prosperity. I don't know if I can get through this. It keeps the country's gears spinning, all while keeping us safe and spreading wealth to communities. You know, that's what the Chinese communists say when they're asked about their complete lack of freedom in communist China. We're just so safe. It's worth it. Every government agency that's torn down to the joists is going to put a huge dent in our productive capacity. Every canceled government grant is a hole torn in the fabric of the future. Every fired federal worker is a post left unattended. Without key agencies like the CDC and the USDA running properly, Americans will simply die sooner and sicken more often, further kneecapping our workforce. Imagine having that much faith in the government. As if they would even notice if the federal government existed or not. But these are the stories that they're paid to write. And this story was written, I got to give props to Cory Booker for facilitating the left's ability to expose itself more as completely disingenuous and uneducated. Cory Booker saw some Twitch gamers doing a 24-hour stream, and he thought it looked cool. So he gave a speech for 25 hours and 5 minutes, setting the record previously held by Strom Thurmond of 24 hours and 18 minutes. This is how broken and feckless the Democrat Party is. They're leaving it to the judges. Hey, judges, you go obstruct. It really makes me wonder what the what the next move is. What's the plan? What's the plan, guys? What do you got? What do you got in the hopper? And how is the Trump administration going to respond? Because he said he wants to impeach judges. He said Mike Johnson is going to Mike Johnson has said he's going to just cut off all funding, start closing the courts down. That would be epically awesome. I hope it happens. This kind of stuff needs to happen now. It needs to happen fast because the midterms are coming. Republican politicians are going to start losing their spine because they want to be reelected. So you're going to have to stay tuned to the show. Check back for more episodes. Follow me on X at earthvox. I'm on Reddit at earthvox. I'm on PlayStation Network at earthvox. I'm on Steam at earthvox. It's my online persona. Punch it in. Find me. Send an email. Whoa, that was weird. Send an email to therealearthvox at protonmail.com. And I will engage with you. I would be happy, nay, ecstatic to hear from you. Tune back in next week to the stream at 11 a.m.-ish on Sunday. And we'll see you then. I'll be back.